Greetings, fellow book lovers, and welcome back to Colin's Corner. Today, guys, we're going to be going over my top 10 Stephen King books. But first, we need to go over the answer from the Comedy with Colin segment in my Jade City review. If you guys have not watched my Jade City review, I will link that up here. It is a no spoiler review. So the joke from Comedy with Colin in my last video was, why can't you trust the King of the Jungle? The answer? Because he's always lying. Shout out to Jenny Chastain, who guessed correctly in the comment sections on my last video. Jenny, thank you so much for watching the video, and also, great guess. Now, let's get on with this list. So I have read 22 Stephen King books so far. I will put a graphic up on the screen somewhere about right now, showing you guys the list of the total books that I have read. Today, we're going to be talking about my top 10, so from 10 to 1. I will talk briefly about each of these books in a no spoiler way, and what I mean by that is I will not say anything that isn't listed on the back cover of the book. But if you want to know absolutely nothing, I will timestamp the video so that once the book is announced, you can skip right over it if you would like to. We're going to kick off this list, guys, with number 10. And coming in at number 10 is Duma Key. This book took me by surprise. So this is written in first person, which I'm finding more and more in King and in fiction in general. That is a perspective that I really enjoy. In Duma Key, we are following Edgar Fremantle. He is a construction site manager who devastatingly loses his right arm in a very unfortunate accident. So we kind of are following him along as his life falls apart post his accident. And then he kind of just moves to Duma Key, which is a fictional key off of the coast of Florida. And he undertakes a very unorthodox and imaginative method of rehab and therapy. At number 9, guys, we have The Drawing of the Three. This is the second book in the Dark Tower series. I don't have this one on me, so I will put up a graphic here. I lent it to a friend. But this is one of the most insane books that I have ever read. It begins directly where The Gunslinger left off, which is the first book in the Dark Tower series. So in The Drawing of the Three, we are following our main character, Roland, as he begins to build his quartet, which is basically, if you have not read The Dark Tower yet, it's a group of people brought together essentially by destiny to help him on his quest to find the elusive tower. The Drawing of the Three is very high-paced. It wastes absolutely no time getting to the action. And I remember there was a scene in this book that had me laughing so hard. I'm talking like tears in my eyes. And it was 1 in the morning. I'm reading this scene. I had to get up and leave the bedroom because I was scared that I was laughing so hard I was going to wake my wife up. So this book was an absolutely wild ride. And if you have not yet gotten into the tower, it starts with, like I said, The Gunslinger. Give it a shot if you're a fan of King or just of fantasy in general. It's unique, but it is so much fun. Number 8, guys, we have Salem's Lot. So I have the Barnes & Noble collection, which has Carrie, The Shining, and Salem's Lot in it. These are beautiful. So in Salem's Lot, we are following our main character, Ben Mears. He is an author who moves back to his hometown of Jerusalem's Lot to do some research for one of his upcoming books that he is working on. When he gets there, he starts to realize that there are some pretty dark forces at work in his old stomping grounds. This is an unbelievably creepy and compelling story of a small town coming together to fight against one of King's most feared antagonists in the vampire Kurt Barlow. This one had me checking that not only my doors were locked, but my windows too. Coming in at number 7, guys, we have Misery. Now, most people have seen the movie, and it is one of the better adaptations of a King novel. So in Misery, we are following our protagonist, Paul Sheldon. He's a best-selling author of the Misery series. So Paul decides to make a very unpopular with the fans decision about the main character, Misery Chastain, in his series. Now, Paul is driving and happens to get in a very unfortunate car accident in Colorado that severely injures him. And when he comes to consciousness, when he wakes up, he finds that he is in the house of his self-proclaimed #1 fan, Annie Wilkes. Annie Wilkes is not at all happy about where Paul is deciding to take the series. So you can imagine that Paul's stay at Annie's house is not necessarily enjoyable. Annie Wilkes, in my opinion, is Stephen King's most horrifying villain that he's ever created because she is believable. There's nothing supernatural about her. She is real. This is something that in extreme circumstances could really happen to somebody that's famous. I don't think that I've ever read a book that was able to elicit such an immense feeling of tension. I was literally on the edge of my seat the whole time I was reading this book. Coming in at number 6, guys, Pet Sematary. So in Pet Sematary, we are following Dr. Lewis Creed. He has to move him and his family to a house in Maine for work. The house that they move into is right on a road that is very busy with the traffic of 18-wheelers, and as a result of this, the town has created a pet cemetery due to all the casualties over the years of the community's pets. But there's something not quite right about the burial site. This is a very well done study on how grief and loss can affect a human. As a parent, this book is a very difficult read, and King himself was actually hesitant to publish this because he wondered if he kind of went too far with Pet Sematary. The book focuses on a lot of different themes than the movie did. The movie was just kind of more of a horror movie, like a gory horror movie. And this is one that I think will stick with me for a very long time. Number 5, guys, we have Wizard and Glass, the 4th book in the Dark Tower series. This is a very controversial book among Dark Tower fans. The reason for that mainly being is that 90% of this book is a flashback of our main character Roland's life. Why I loved it so much was that up until this point, Roland was a super awesome gun-wielding cowboy, but he was very mysterious and I didn't really know why he was the way that he was. And Wizard and Glass gave us a lot of backstory as to what happened to Roland to make him the way that he is. And it also introduces us to some of my favorite characters in the Dark Tower series from Roland's past. Number 4, guys, The Stand. This is King's post-apocalyptic novel where the Captain Trips Superflu escapes from a biological testing facility and ends up killing 99% of humanity. With the world in turmoil, 2 leaders emerge. One is Mother Abigail, the other is the Walking Dude, aka Randall Flagg, one of my favorite villains in all of King's works. This is a very large cast of characters. There's a lot of characters to get to know. There's a lot of characters that I love. There's a lot of characters that I loved to hate. This was a very enthralling study of the degradation of society and what actions humans can be resulted to doing in the face of absolute disaster. And despite its length, I was amazed at how engaged I was with this monstrous journey. Alright guys, we have made it to the top 3. So coming in at number 3, 11/22/63. This is the first King book that I ever read. This is another one that is written in first person, and this is a book about the JFK assassination, or more precisely, it is a book about what could have happened had the JFK assassination been prevented. So in 11/22/63, we are following a high school English teacher in Lisbon, Maine. His name is Jake Epping, and he ends up befriending a local diner owner named Al. Al discovers that in his diner, the storage room happens to be a portal that takes anyone that enters it back in time to the year 1958. So Al enlists Jake to go on a mission to try to prevent the assassination of JFK. Like many King books, this one is kind of a mishmash of some different genres, but at its heart, this is one of the best romances that I have ever read in fiction. I am 22 books into my King journey so far, and this one still holds a very special place in my heart, and in my opinion, is a masterpiece. Alright, number 2, guys, the runner-up, It. King's character work is on full display in this epic and unforgettable horror story. Yes, this of course is the book that introduced the world to King's most popular villain of all time, Pennywise, who is terrifying, but he is not the star of the show. The reason that It is number 2 on my list is because it is my favorite coming-of-age story that I have yet to read in fiction. Following the Losers Club on this 1,100-page journey as they battle Pennywise gave me some of the most unforgettable experiences that I've had thus far in reading. I truly felt like I was a part of the Losers Club going through these nightmares with them. King writes some of the most believable young children or young adults that I've ever read. It feels so real. The things that they do, the shenanigans that they get into, the problems that are so real to kids at this age. King just nails it. This is an epic story about friendship, about perseverance, and fighting together against seemingly impossible odds to overcome. Alrighty, the moment you have all been waiting for. Coming in at number 1, guys, we have The Shining. Yes, King's 3rd published novel, The Shining, comes in at number 1 on my list of favorite King books that I've read thus far. We are following another writer in this one, Jack Torrance, as he takes on a winter job as the caretaker of the Overlook Hotel. He, his son Danny, and his wife Wendy move into the Overlook over the winter, and their job is essentially to make sure that the Overlook Hotel doesn't fall into ruin during the off-season. I've never been more scared reading a book than I was reading The Shining. For me, what did it was the setting and the atmosphere. There was just something about the fact that there's only 3 people in this absolutely massive hotel and they're snowed in together. And, you know, when cabin fever starts to rear its ugly head in each of the different family members in different ways, things get very, very interesting. There were a couple scenes in this book that absolutely floored me in amazement and the amount of sheer terror that they were able to elicit in me. I also think that, in my opinion, this book was paced almost perfectly. So there it is, guys. That's my list of top 10 Stephen King books that I have read so far. Let me know in the comments if you agree with my list, if you disagree with my list, and let's talk about some of your guys' favorite King books. Now on to your guys' favorite part of the video, Comedy with Colin. Today's joke, guys, is going to be, what do a tick and the Eiffel Tower have in common? If you guys think you know the answer, drop it down in the comments. And if you guys would like me to do any dedicated reviews on any of the books on this list today, also let me know. Don't forget to like, comment, and share this video if you enjoyed it. And remember, guys, you are always welcome in Colin's Corner.